I'm live. Hello, plant life people. Are you there? I see there's a couple people waiting already to watch, which makes me super excited. I love doing these demos every day, and I think I've been doing them now almost a year. We're almost coming up to that crazy 1 year anniversary of the pandemic. So it's crazy how fast time has flown by, but I really have loved doing these demos. Gave me something to do, and it also lets me show everyone how easy and awesome and delicious it is to eat vegan food and cheap most of the time. So welcome. Thanks for joining me every week. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. And do a little thumbs up on the video to help show YouTube that my channel is cool. So this recipe is something that I just came up with, but I was actually inspired by a recipe I saw a million years ago on a YouTube channel called Cheap Lazy Vegan. And she has amazing recipes, super easy to follow recipes just from random ingredients she has at home, which is my perfect style of cooking. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to make an elaborate meal plan, although I do make a meal plan every week, but it can be easy. And I just want to say hi. I see my friends Courtney and Connie there in the chat. So welcome to you guys. So this recipe is probably one of the fewest ingredients I've had in a while, and it's so super easy and delicious. So the main ingredient I'll show you is from the freezer. And I actually just bought, I usually don't buy frozen stuff, but frozen stuff is pretty good. So this is frozen butternut squash, or you can use fresh. The original recipe made on the Cheap Lazy Vegan video was with pumpkin puree, but I chose to do butternut squashes for a different flavor. So that's your main ingredient. So I boiled that down and mashed it. I have my trusty masher. And then the rest of the ingredients are super easy. We've got garlic, so a couple of cloves of that. And we have some really finely chopped onions. I have red onions, so I'm going to use that, and I like the flavor of red onions. And then I have maybe 2 tablespoons of some chopped up sage, dried sage. You could use fresh as well, it's not a problem. And I actually got, I wonder if you can see this. I got this sage from my dad, who got it at a farmer's market here in Ottawa, I guess, called Earth's Mirth. I love that. So really fresh dried herbs, or you can use fresh sage or the ground sage. If you end up using ground sage, put a tiny bit in until you taste it, because sage can overpower it. It's an awesome flavor, but you can really overpower your recipe, so just be careful. And then we're going to make all of these things that seem kind of random into a delicious pasta sauce. So I also have some cooked pasta going, and that's all the ingredients. You can have some extra stuff. Obviously, I'm putting nutritional yeast in and a couple of other seasonings, but it's a very basic recipe, and it's really awesome, I guess, if you've cooked butternut squash for something else and you have some leftovers. Even if you had some roast squash that was soft enough that you could mash, you can use it in this recipe, and then you get that awesome roast flavor. So we're going to cook this. And I'm in another part of my kitchen. I don't know if you can see behind me. So I'm able to show the stove without that crazy beeping induction oven that I had last time. All right, so we have a pan getting warm with some water. And we're going to go ahead. Here we go. There's my pan. So I just have a bit of water in there. I might add a bit more because I think this has gotten pretty hot. So what we want to do is cook down our onion. And I've chopped this really fine because I want it to cook fast, and because for this dish, I don't want like giant chunks of onion in when I eat it, right? And we're going to throw our garlic in there. So we're going to let that cook down. I'm going to turn this heat up a bit. I cooled the pan down with the water, but usually I cook more like on a medium if I don't have a time crunch, but I don't want to bore you guys with cooking onions the whole day. So, oh yeah, and squash and sage together is such a good combo. It's kind of weird for like the spring. It's more like a fall thing, but you can have it anytime. And especially if you get really good frozen veggies, you can do it any time of the year. So we're gonna cook that down. You could cook this down in a bit of oil if you wanted to, but you know me, I like to cook with less oil. And so I'm gonna let that get nice and hot. And then I'll show you a little bit of this squash. So this butternut squash came in really small cubes. So it's probably about 2 cups of squash, and I boiled it for like 3 minutes, and it was soft enough to mash, and I put in some oat milk. So super easy. Like this, I think I say this every week. It's like, this is my easiest recipe, but this is one of my easiest recipes. So I love it. So we're going to put that in. So we're going to let these get a little bit softer. We'll let that go for a little bit. And then I'll show you the sage. So the sage was fresh, dried sage. Lighting is horrible here. And I just crumbled it up by hand. But you could throw that in a blender if you really wanted to get it down. I don't mind having a little bit of chunks. And then if you had fresh sage, you would chiffonade it. So you would slice it in really thin slices. You could roll up the leaves and slice it really thin, and you would get that look. So our onions are doing pretty good. Actually, they're pretty translucent because I chopped them so small. So these are other things you can do if you're in a time crunch and you're trying to cook something. Simply just chopping the veggies smaller will help save you time. So it doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing, but this is going to seem like luxurious because of the ingredients. So I'm going to throw the sage in and let that get cooked in there. Let's soften that down a little bit so it doesn't get lost in the squash. Oh, I can smell that now. So good. Oh, it's going to be so good. The garlic and the sage together is amazing. Okay, so we've got that in. We just didn't want our sage to get stuck in here. And we're going to throw that in. And so I don't think I put enough liquid into this, so I'm actually going to throw a bit of oat milk in. I put some oat milk in the butternut squash when I mashed it, but this is not looking thin enough. So I'm just using some regular oat milk. Don't mess it up and put your vanilla oat milk in. I've done that before in dinner recipes, and it was a disaster. I can't even begin to tell you guys how good this smells. So let's get that all in there. So I would say that's probably a 1/4 cup more, but you're going to have to judge that based on how you did your squash. The original recipe from Cheap Lazy Vegan, she put actually full fat canned coconut milk in it to make it creamy, but I didn't want to have that coconut flavor in there at all. So I think that's like a pretty good texture there. It's going to make a sauce. And if you wanted to make it a really thin sort of pasta sauce, say you were going to use thin spaghetti pasta sauce, you would want to maybe even thin it down even more so that you could get the noodles to go all through that. So that's looking pretty good. So I have some, what am I doing? I almost forgot our nutritional yeast. We have to add that in for sure. So maybe a 1/4 cup of that. And I am going to throw in black pepper because I love black pepper. I don't think we need any salt in this. And we're cooking pretty fast, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. We got our heat up a bit too high on that one. So the nutritional yeast will thicken it up a bit, so watch your water content again. And then it'll also give it that like amazing savory taste. This is looking so good. Actually, this would be good with some spinach in it too, maybe some other veggies. So I think we're okay with that. So as I was saying, I have my pasta, so I've got the big rotini pasta. If you were doing spaghetti, which I'm not a spaghetti fan, you could make this thinner. And make sure when you do your pasta, if you're making it ahead, that you rinse the pasta out thoroughly so that it doesn't stick together. And you're going to put that right in. And I was worried I got my pasta to sauce ratio messed up, but I think I'm doing all right. But you can see here too, the color is very similar to the pasta. So when you do make it with pumpkin, you get that really nice, bright orange color to your pasta sauce, but I think we're okay. So we'll add a teeny bit more water. Now we've added enough flavor that the water is not going to water it down, but we've got that together. And that is looking good, and it's the butternut squash that makes it look kind of stringy like cheese. But I think that we are done. Look at that. Yeah, I would love the pumpkin for the color, but this smells fantastic. And it's warm, obviously, because I just steamed up my camera. So let's plate this up. I'm just going to put it all right in. I don't know if I'm going to share this yet, but we're going to put it in. And if you had some, you know, some cool Violife Parmesan, you could put that right on there. Look at this. I'm going to turn this camera around a little bit for some light. Amazing. Yeah, Parmesan would be fantastic on this. But I do have, again, my go-to, my everything bagel mix. So the everything bagel mix I made on a different video. I'll try to link it. And then there's black and white sesame seeds, there's onion and garlic granules, and there's poppy seeds in there as well. So let's throw a bit of that on, make it look fancy. Another way you could make this look really cute is to chop up some green onions for the top. Again, I say it every time. This is one of my quickest videos, I think. I'm going to have to look back. But that just goes to show you, look at this amazing hearty meal that I made. Like, including the prep, it was super fast. Like, the prep was just chopping up an onion for 2 seconds, boiling pasta, and boiling some squash, like, and crumbling some sage in my hand. That's it. Those are all the instructions. I almost don't need to put them in the description, but I will. And now, I'm actually so super excited to eat this. Okay, I'm going to take I might take a huge bite. And it's all, like, the sauce is all, because the flesh of the butternut squash is all sticking to the pasta. It's like one of those just luscious pasta recipes. Let's see if we can get a focus. No focus. That's fine. I'm going to eat it. Okay, go. Oh, frig. That is so good. If you never make any of my recipes, please make this recipe. It's so good. The sage and the nutritional yeast, for sure you need to put in this. I would not skip on that. It gives it that flavor. And then I can actually just imagine if you roasted the butternut squash, maybe with some sage and a little bit of olive oil, and then mashed it up, you would get like an even better flavor. And I just had this thought in my mind. You could put this in a tray and cover it with a little bit of cheese, like maybe some Violife Parmesan cheese, and bake it. Or maybe put some vegan sausage in it. I could go on and on about it. You put anything in here. You can put nothing in here. You could just eat the whole bowl like this. Okay, so that's it. This was like another winner for sure. And Courtney is saying that too. She's gonna make it this weekend. The butternut squash bag that I bought was like $3. Pasta is cheap. You know, if you have your nutritional yeast and all those other ingredients, super, super cheap and easy. And that is it. That is another recipe from the Plant Life Canada. I will bid you adieu now, and I will ask you once again, please like this video, share it, subscribe if you haven't already. And another thing you can do to help my channel out if you really like my content is to stick around even for a few minutes and watch another video. It doesn't even have to be mine, but that will show YouTube that you like my channel and you came to spend some time on YouTube. So if you have time, please go ahead and do that. Please watch one of my videos. But otherwise, that's it. Have a good day. Hope the sun is out like it is here, and I hope you enjoy your dinner. Bye.